Just tell us what it's like, because we obviously see the games and you leave the pitch, but what is it like as a team and individually? After a game doesn't go your way or a week doesn't go your way, a bad moment, how do you go about picking up the pieces?
I think initially you'll always have that human response of it being an emotional game, so it always will feel like the end of the world. Doesn't matter what time of the season it is when you lose a game, whether it be business end or start of the season. No defeat is ever nice, I think. So there's always half an hour after the game where it's quite quiet in the dressing room. You're just kind of alone with your thoughts, mainly thinking about what you could have done differently, why it didn't go to plan, why we didn't execute it, what was the reason why. The manager will speak for a little bit, and then we'll kind of just either speak within ourselves or kind of just disperse. And then by the time we come in the next day, it has to be forgotten. I mean, you pick up what you need to and you learn from why it happened and you dissect it. But it can't still linger. You need to try and keep moving forward and go forward, and that's always the mindset. And of course, as you see, it's a lot easier to say than it is done. And fortunately, this season we've been able to bounce back and we haven't had too many setbacks. But if it was easy, then every team would lose 1 or 2 games a season and win the rest. But only a couple of teams are fortunate enough to be able to do that, and our mentality is we need to bounce back, and we expect to bounce back as a team.
So, as you touch on that, in terms of dissecting it, and I get that some of it stays in the changing room, can you put your finger on what's happened in the last week or so?
I think over the last week, the last three results, I think fingers will be pointed at mainly the attackers who have not taken chances, or we've not been clinical enough, and part of that is truth. I think if you asked all the attackers now, should they have taken the chances and would it have been different, then the answer would have been yeah. But no, as a team we need to keep going, because those chances will keep happening, and it's somewhat a good sign that we are still creating. You'd rather create chances and miss them than not create at all. So I think we're confident in them that they'll find the back of the net again soon. And as a team, we're confident that we'll keep creating them and keep us in games as a defensive structure. The midfield will keep doing their job. Goalkeeper come back and do his job. Like we've spoken, there's a month or so left of the season. Give it absolutely everything, and leave nothing to chance. Just try and go for absolutely everything. Of course, I think the results in the league haven't been great for us the last 2, but it gets somewhat of a good result with Villa beating Arsenal, which softens the blow from Sunday. But you can't take that for granted. We should have been in a position to capitalise, and potentially if those fixtures were reversed and they played first and we played second, then maybe it would have been a different mentality.
Do you wonder how the Palace game might have gone had Arsenal lost to Villa in the early kick-off?
I think it all comes down to mentality. I think it's all about your perspective on the game and what you need to get out of it. I think Arsenal's results, I think our result played part in Arsenal's result as well. I think they would have seen it, got potentially a little bit too excited and thought, this is our chance, this is what we need to do, and maybe overthought some things, whereas if us and City have both won, it was just we need to win and that's it, rather than this is a chance to break away from the pack. So I think it's all dependent. I think none of us have been in a 3-horse race, so it's difficult to say where you want to go and what you want to be.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually at their game on Sunday, and I just wonder whether for yourselves and for Arsenal, that slight sinking feeling, maybe it's more the supporters than the players, does that come from City, basically, what they've done before? You've been there, and you know it. You know, previous seasons, you've not even made a mistake, and still they've got over the line. Does that where it comes? Where do you think that's where it comes from? The fact that they've been perfect so often, and they've seen out these situations so many times before?
Yeah, I think Arsenal experienced it last year. We've experienced it 2 or 3 times in the past as well. You know, when you get into a title race with City, you know, when it gets to the turn of the year, they are borderline perfect, and you can't really slip up and make mistakes. So, you know, when you do lose those points and you give them the upper hand, and it's difficult because they don't really blink in those moments. They don't seem vulnerable. They don't seem like they're gonna drop points. It's like a well-oiled machine. It's what they do. They click, and there's no stopping them. So, you know, to give them the advantage with 6 games to go is almost handing them the title, I think. All we can do is just be in a position to capitalise and hope that somebody does us a favour and get our goal difference up, really.
But how do you shut that out? I mean, it would be so easy to think, and I'll be honest, as a neutral, it's hard not to think, blimey, it's City now. But how do you shut out that kind of thought, maybe at the back of your head, we've handed them the title? You just said it.
Just to focus on ourselves, really. Like I said, 6 games left. Not long at all. They'll fly by. Games come thick and fast. Three games next week. And then after that week's finished, you've got three Prem games left. So I think our aim is to just go and try and win every game we can. That's all we can do. And be in a position to capitalise. I think it'll be difficult, but you know, I've seen over the last 2-3 weeks odds and percentage chances of who's going to win the league, who's not, has fluctuated so much just by one result. So not anything can happen in the Premier League.
But it sounds like you're thinking, kind of like most of the rest of us, I guess, they're big favourites now, but there's nothing we can do about that. We can only take care of the 6 games we've got left.
Exactly. If you don't play them, it's not in your hands. You know, all we can do is be in a position to hopefully, if they do slip and if they do drop any points, to be in a position to capitalise, and you know, hopefully that does come. Whether it does or doesn't isn't in our hands. But you know, they are, you know, a fantastic team. Manager, the squad that they've got it's hard to think that, you know, they won't win it at this point, I think. But stranger things have happened in the Premier League.
Is there a sense, no matter who wins it, to come back to the situation with the manager, it can't finish with a whimper after how special the last few years have been?
Yeah, I don't think that's too much of our thought process, to be honest, because we know that's not acceptable anyway as a team. So it's not like part of us have said, like, yeah, it's our last, as a group, it's our last 6-7 games or however many we go on to play. But as a team and as a group with the staff and the manager, it's going to be our last title race, our last end of the season push, the last run-in. So we want to give it absolutely everything. It's not so much just to do it for the manager, but you know, as a group, under the settings and the feeling and the vibe around the camp, and the infrastructure, it's our last proper push as a group before big changes come in the summer.